So I think I'm a little concerned that we're going off topic here, but I'm very interested in hearing what the panelists here have to say about the potential for some of these renewable resources and small-scale energy projects on the grid in this province as opposed to just off the grid. Any comments, any input on that would be very welcome, yeah.
So perhaps the way we can frame this to make sure that we're staying on topic is, has there been any experience on the island of Newfoundland or the Labrador connected grid with distributed renewable energy resources? And what can we learn that's applicable for off-grid communities?
Okay. And there has been, there's, for example, last year out on the west coast, there was a biogas farm used the biogas from its manure and they're using that to produce 400 or 500 kilowatts of electricity. And there's a number of other ones. But with the current situation, with Muskrat Falls coming in, everything else, there will be a surplus of electricity. So what's really going to happen is any additional electricity that's produced, in essence, the only market for it is to be sold off the island somewhere else. So from that point of view, its value is what you can get for it selling it off the island. So it's not, I suppose, that you can't do them, except, well, there is a bit of a government moratorium on small hydro, but it's not so much that you can't do it. It's, technically it's feasible. Economically, right now, it's not going to be.
I'll follow up there. So yeah, net metering is a program that does exist. That basically means you can install solar or wind on your property connected to the grid and benefit from cost savings on your bill at the end of the year. If you produce a surplus, you'll actually get a credit from the utility company, so through NL Hydro. And that's a program that is gaining more familiarity. It's only been allowed in Newfoundland and Labrador for about 2 years, but it can be a really great way for people to save on their own electricity bill. I know the current government said that there's going to be a cap on the price of electricity as it increases with Muskrat Falls coming online. And it is true that we will have a surplus of electricity once Muskrat Falls comes online. But I mean, I like to think of things from an individual perspective as well, and you've got to take care of your own household. And I think that distributed energy through the net metering program is a great way to own your own energy production and create value in your home. And there's certainly a lot of options for that. I think it would be a really great model to follow in these smaller communities that depend on diesel generation as a way to offset the amount of diesel that's required. There's always balance of energy issues when you're putting more energy on the grid, but currently our net metering program is limited at 100 kilowatts per meter, so that kind of takes care of that. But in terms of distributed scale or utility scale energy generation projects getting tied to the grid right now, unless you've got a power purchase agreement, then it's really not a possibility.
I agree with everything you guys just said. So I would say low to do small. Depends on what your definition of small is. But for your house, yes, you can do that. Just to pivot to do off-grid, this is one of the issues that I really believe the utility has to pay attention to, because eventually what happens in these small off-grid communities is that people will start to say, you know what, I could do it for the same price at home, and I can just put a battery in there, and I don't have to rely on their grid. And when that starts happening, you start fluctuating it, and it causes more issues with their diesel. That's why you're not allowed to net meter in the off-grid communities. But eventually people will just start clicking off. And that's a real issue that's going to come. And that's why we feel like our project's very important, so that NLH understands what's coming down the line, and NLH is prepared for it. Because that's the biggest issue here, is that the utility has no money because they are squeezed like crazy by government. So then they can't look to the future. They can't invest in the future of understanding what's going on. And that's why we really feel a project like ours is important, because it allows NLH, using our money, to find out what the future could look like.
Now, I know Bob, I think Bob has a couple clarification points. Bob, can I propose, propose this. We take a question to make sure we stay focused on off-grid. I'll hand it to you first, so then you can take care of the clarification and we stay on off-grid. Okay, go ahead.
Just to say that no, net metering is allowed in the off-grid
so.
communities, as long as it was from the start when the policy was there. But again, you have the technical issues that you mentioned, and yeah, from the economics, from a consumer, if you're just displacing your household electricity, yeah, what you're getting back is what you're paying on your bill. Mm-hmm. If you were to sell it to hydro, what you're going to get is what hydro can get to sell it on the market. Mm-hmm. So that's, yeah, so you're probably talking now 2, 3, 4 cents versus 13, 14, whatever it goes to.